Hello, everyone, and welcome to Horrornightoasis, a radio show where we discuss all the latest movies and news from the world of horror. Joining me tonight, as always, is my co-host Ian. Ian, are you there?
Somewhere.
Somewhere. Yes, somewhere indeed, as it is our Christmas Eve show as we continue on our Christmas Murderland marathon. And I tell you, we had a couple choices, Ian, and one thing usually pops up, and then another pops up, and then we already have our list of other titles that we chose from at the beginning of the month. And, we just go back and forth. And usually, one thing, if something such as tonight's title details, is reindeers always win. no matter no matter the choice. Like, if it's a slasher film or is it something Killer Santa, even though I kind of wanted a Killer Santa, but we still got time. But you throw in a reindeer or some type of a reindeer into the equation, and that's going to be our choice. Unless you have like a killer nutcracker, or a Krampus. Like, again, I'm still waiting on a Krampus. I don't know why there's no Krampus, even though there is one called "'Twas the Night," but it's an anthology film and it has like a Krampus story and a gingerbread man story. So we may toss an extra review to close out the marathon just because I want to get my Krampus fix. But tonight we decided, let's do this. It just came up and like we have to, and that is A Very Flattened Christmas. And A Very Flattened Christmas is about let's see, it's about Max, and Max basically left this town that he lived in a year prior, and he's coming back because one of his buddies at work or a friend died, and he's coming back in to pay the respects and all that stuff. And so he's talking to some old friends and acquaintances and people that he knew, and he's starting to, some that are good close friends, others not so much. We have like Dan, who's sort of like the stoner of the group. He's just there in a sense. And then Rich is like the movie tycoon, because he created this series called Dick Puncher, and now it's on to the 7th film, and it's an animated film, and they have like, again, a bunch of voices, like one's Arnold Schwarzenegger and all that stuff, but it's like, again, an animated Christmas film, but the 7th in the series. And again, there's a lot of other characters sprinkled in and throughout the film that he's just there, Max is, and he's just come to pay his respects. And he used to work at this roadkill collection cleanup company because basically the owner says, well, when the kids get their presents and they go outside to play with them or do whatever, they don't want to see a dead raccoon on the side of the road. And so it's basically their job to go around and pick up dead roadkill, dead animals off the side of the road, collection company. And so all this is happening, and at the same time, there is a killer reindeer, I'm just in air quotations, killer reindeer, going around and picking off a bunch of, people that's related friend-wise that works for the company of Max and this roadkill crew. And so you have a lot of people is like disappearing, and the cops become involved. Again, one of the cops Max knew previously, and then they kind of drifted apart, and they're trying to not really make amends, but just like, he's kind of a suspect in the whole process of the body showing up, and they're kind of leaning in towards him. They're leaning in towards Dan because like he's like having not really visions, but he's talking about all the deaths and murders and who's going to be next and all that stuff. And so they're kind of tagging along, following them, all the while. Again, we're introduced to a bunch of these characters. We're introduced to again Rich, who I mentioned earlier, his little sidekicks they go around with him talking about Dick Puncher constantly. Um, and then the lady friend of Max that's all up in arms about him. Um, and then her dad, who owns the company, the Roadkill Company, and then all these other people that's involved with the crew of the company, Lori Bell, um, and so on and so forth. All the while, we have this reindeer going around killing people. And overall, truth be told, I wasn't the biggest fan of this one. It's not terrible. It's not good. I was more kind of apathetic towards it as the film went along. Um, it just didn't really draw your attention that much. And for a film such as this, it needed to have a little bit more, a quicker energy to it. It was just very subdued and just, I mean, it just a snail's pace almost. And like I like the idea and I like the concept, but there was just like parts of it where it just like it needed to keep something going to catch your attention, and like they don't really do much with the reindeer. Um, Honestly, they don't. He's here and there, and it pops up here and there. Um, the kills again aren't the best for a slasher movie. There's some okay okay here and there, but it's like they're not done. It's CGI blood. A lot of it is. They're just like when someone gets stabbed, they're just like in a pool. That's that CGI pool of blood that comes surrounding them. Um, Again, it's very low budget, very indie. Um, but it didn't have you know what you would want out of a slasher movie, and especially with what this one eventually became. Um, because you'd think, oh, of course you're gonna think dead reindeer on the side of the road is coming back for retribution. It's not that. Um, it is a slasher, mass killer. Um, with a reveal, it's kind of obvious. I mean, they pretty much tell you, if you pay attention to the conversations and some of the characters, it's fairly obvious what's going on. Um, and I just like it was one of those like, please don't go down the path of that where it's like everything's on. It's not that on the nose, but it's like, please, don't do that way. And they kind of did. Again, the characters weren't all that interesting either. Like, honestly, I didn't really care about Max too much as a character. He kind of just seemed like a wimpy character. It just, oh, whatever, oh, this, oh, that. And, like, he just, like, sulked around constantly. And that, you need to have, like, a better character than that just to, for your slasher movie. And just like, again, I like Dan, the one that the stoner character. They needed something. I'm assuming because it said it was a bunch of stoner employees. I expected more than just, oh, Dan is a stoner, and like, oh, Max used to be a stoner as well, but he doesn't do it anymore because he grew up. But it and of course, like Dan's going around like with the last joint of the person that died at the beginning of the movie, and the whole funeral. Like, look, this is his last bliff. We need to smoke it and get his knowledge. And that comes back into play towards the last act of the film. But yeah, it didn't really do anything for me. It didn't really. Yeah. It wasn't exciting. It wasn't. I wouldn't. I mean, it was just a fine watch, like, again, I didn't hate it. I didn't like, I didn't think it was good or bad. It was just blasé, it's just like, okay. They didn't really do much with what they could have done with it, and that's kind of, I hate to see it. Like they really gave it their all, and there's like moments in there too with the ADR. Like most of the film is ADR, so you're gonna it seems off from the get go, and like there's moments where like the ADR is like like not there, like when one of the ladies is captured and one of the guys hooked up to like chains and hooks, and he's in the like this uh, building. He's just chained there, and like the audio's good there, and then it goes right back to ADR for like the remainder of the film, and it's just like that seems odd. I guess something might have happened to the audio where they had to do it that way, but um, I don't know. I just again like I expected a little bit more from it, and I don't know. It was like again, it
Yeah.
was fine. It just didn't really knock blow me away or anything. But Ian, your thoughts, and we'll go back and forth.
Um, well, pretty much what you said. Like the joke, the dick puncher joke was funny the first time, and then it stopped being funny for me. Like after that, um, it relied too much on um like singular jokes, like that were just overused a lot of the times. I mean, yeah, and like you said, this wasn't a bad film. It just wasn't that funny. Um, and it kind of dragged on longer than it kind of should have. I felt like this probably could have been cut down a little bit, uh, and it would have been probably a lot better. Um, so we're not just filling up the dead zones with like jokes that are kind of just not, you know, hitting. Like one person kept saying, "But it's Christmas," multiple times. The boss of the people was a dick, and that was played as a joke. Now, it was kind of funny in the beginning, but then he just kept going on and on and on, and I just like, okay, this is another joke that has kind of ran its course. Um,
Yeah, like it wanted to be like this spoof, tongue-in-cheek movie, but then it didn't go that route. Like they just wanted to toss, like how Nixon and Hogan was from last week.
I was that's what I was about to say. I was like, the movie we watched last week was, you know, just stupid. And you can say that without it being an insult. They know it's stupid because it was.
Yeah,
And like it was just a weird mix of trying to be serious and campy. The movie didn't really make sense. Um, like I was like, at one point, I was like, okay, this is like some satanic thing. Nope. And I was like, okay, this is just a reindeer or whatever that was murdered. And it was like, okay, so it's this. No, okay, what is this? And the ending, which I'm not going to give away, was kind of just. I mean, you kind of saw it coming, but it seemed like they were going to try to maybe like veer it into a different, at
so yeah,
least in a
something
more
got lost in
interesting way.
translation there because, like you said, there's the two naked women doing the rituals and like bringing, and then all the stuff that like because Dan's getting sent like body parts is a big thing, and that's like how he knows like who's going to be next because he's getting sent things, and so like you have these scenes with these naked women in masks along with the reindeer killer, and then you get the reveal at the end and nothing to like why did he have those two naked women, like was the one the one like because one girl's a little bit on the heavier side but the one was skinny, and like is the one naked, is that what I don't want to give spoilers either, but Ian knows what I'm talking about, like is he just
Yeah,
standing
no,
around there with his that That seems weird. I mean, obviously the character of the reindeer killer, I mean, he's not there, but still it didn't make sense. And like you have to know to the fact like there's another person involved in this, but it doesn't come about at all. It's just like, oh, whatever, you know,
Yeah.
wipe your
And
hands. Yeah.
yeah, there's no real explanation for anything. Like
Yeah.
nothing really gets explained. It's just like, here it is. It's like, okay. And I kept waiting for the backstory. And then I was like, oh, it's not coming. I was like,
No.
so there's not, I was like, it's just everything is completely left open ended. I forgot to switch the poster. But no, yeah, it was just like, oh man, it felt like it felt like an hour movie. Like I felt like it just like the first like maybe 15 minutes of it kind of went by a little quick, and I was like, okay, all the setup. I didn't hate it, but I was like, okay, we've watched movies with lower budgets, and we are fine with the acting and everything else. Like that wasn't a problem. Um, I thought it sounded fine, and I thought it looked fine for, a low budget movie.
Mm-hmm.
We've definitely seen people who have made tons of movies over the years who have never learned how to edit sound. So, there's appreciate that. But it was just like, that was like just the lack of exposition and the overuse of singular jokes for each character. Like, was what really was the downfall for this movie. Because I don't want a whole like line of exposition. Like I just would like a little like, so this is why he does this, and I do this. Just a little bit of like, at least just give us a tiny bit of a heads up.
Yeah.
Of why things are going the way they are. But I mean, Dick Puncher, the guy acting like an ass because he's got money, and then the basketball thing where he was like, I felt like that scene kind of dragged on longer than it needed to. I think the only character I really didn't have a problem with was the red-haired cop. I didn't have too much of a problem with her because she was pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
And the stoner friend.
Yeah.
Like
Dan.
he played that role. I felt like he played that role really well.
Yeah.
Because that's the kind, like he didn't have any jokes that he kept like going on and on and on with. I mean, yeah, he kept bringing up smoking pot like this last doobie with me, but like it wasn't to a point. Really
because Dan and the lady cop used to be friends. I think I mixed her up, Dan up with Max. We're like, I became a stoner and you became a cop. Like that's one of his lines. And but again, there's just like it doesn't really like. There's not a lot of memorable moments in the film is a thing, and when you have a killer or a masked killer reindeer, you need to have like moments that stand out, or else it's just a lost cause.
Yeah. Max was, I believe, that guy with the beard that he was supposed to be the main character.
Mm-hmm.
Like him constantly like whining was getting on my nerves. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
it's just like leave. Like, just leave. Like, if you don't want to be there, you don't have to stay there. Just go away. You know, it's just like, I don't know, his character arc was just all over. It wasn't all over the place, but I'm just like, if he doesn't want to be there,
it
just
went
go.
nowhere.
Yeah, it literally went. Well, and that was supposed to be the crucial thing, too. Like, it's supposed to go somewhere with the reveal, but
Yeah,
I don't know. It just
yeah,
it kind of reminded me of that one that came out a few years ago called Time's Up, and that was the New Year's Eve slasher film, and that also involved like people at like this teacher, at this um I think they were at this school and it was a New Year's Eve party, and like everything, like I think some of them were a couple, and like it ends with something similar to the way this one ended. But again, I don't want to get into it. It just kind of reminded me of that too. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Like again, I didn't. It was just one of those. Just I wouldn't really say mindless. It was just one of those watches where I'm just like, you know, not really involved with the story it was trying to tell, and just wasn't very interesting in my opinion. Um, and I hate that because again, I wanted to like this sounds cool. This seems neat, and then it just slides through the fingers.
yeah,
I had a little bit of a hopes for it, and it just kind of let me down. And just like everything not revealed and didn't make sense. Maybe it does. Honestly, it still didn't really make sense. Again, with the two women, and then the finale, and then the reasoning for the reindeer killer, and just like that the whole episode of like people getting stabbed to death and not dying. That's another thing.
yeah. I was very. I was like, are they like magic? Is this where the rituals are coming into play for, or what? Like, and it was never explained. Nothing gets explained. Like, it's just literally just because they
Yeah.
just wanted these random, like, scenic scenes. And I mean, they looked nice. Like,
See, if they
I
went
mean,
with the
they
campy
actually did it.
humor, if they went
Yeah,
with the campy humor, tongue in cheek humor, that would have I would have understood it, because it's going for campy over the top, but it's still straightforward
yeah,
in its
and that
delivery.
yeah, that was the part that kind of threw me off. Was like, it's supposed to be stupid and outrageous, but yet at the same time, it's too straightforward. And I'm like, what emotion am I supposed to feel right now? Am I supposed to be like, oh my god, this is the funniest thing ever, or am I like supposed to take this film seriously? And it's just like, it didn't feel like it had a good balance between what it wanted to be. And I felt like they probably cut off a lot of stuff that probably would have tied the movie up a little bit better.
Yeah, I guess I'm just indifferent about the whole thing. I don't know.
I mean, that's how I feel too.
Yeah,
Um, just
it's just
like,
middle of the road. It's not.
yeah,
Again, it's plain Jane slasher movie with a cool killer, but they don't really do much with it, and it's kind
yeah.
of
And I mean, the way the movie is made out to sound A Very Flattened Christmas, it makes you think that this is a deer getting revenge for being ran over. And like, that's how I thought it was. Um, Especially like that line when we first see the deer, it was like, go back to your mama, you zombie deer, or whatever.
yeah.
Like, and it looked dead. Like, the deer looked like it was dying, and like blood and stuff was on it. I was like, okay, so this is like a deer revenge story. But no, it's not. And that was kind of disappointing.
Well, technically, it is a zombie, but not a
I mean,
deer.
obviously,
Yeah.
um I thought some of the character design looked cool. I mean, it's probably just these people the way they look all the time. But I was like,
Yeah.
the dude with the blue mohawk. I was like, man. I was like, I want hair like that.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't think there's really that much else to go on
There
to.
really isn't. I was just
And I
sitting
don't
there
really want to
thinking,
give in to spoilers either because it's still kind of relatively new. And I don't want to spoil it for those that's interested in it if they do check it out on their own. But yeah, like again, we're like I said, I'm just indifferent about it, and I just wasn't very impressed with the film because it just felt like a plain old slasher film, and like it was kind of the tonal balance was off because it was didn't know, as you said, as we mentioned, it didn't know if it wanted to be this tongue-in-cheek campy movie, but then it's also this serious slasher film, and like the two didn't coexist that well with the way it's portrayed. And again, like if you have characters that over the top, you need to have the film, like Nixon and Hogan, to go along and keep it that nice balance. And this
yeah,
one, like when you have something over the top and then it's super serious the next, and then it's just like it throws it off, and it's one of its detriments, I think, for the film. Again, it had some, like, again, I like the look of the killer deer. I like that. I wish they did more with it besides just having him control a dozer and stab someone with a shovel and this and that. It just didn't seem like he did too much. Where like he should have like done some more interesting kills.
yeah,
Just stab someone or wrap Christmas tree lights around their neck. Just like very.
yeah. And anything that does happens. A lot of it happens off screen.
Yeah.
And like I was like, man, when I was watching it, I was sitting there like, man, this right here is what I wanted to see. Like them capturing the people that they did and doing what they did to them. Like I wanted to see that. That would have been cool. Um, and I was just like, okay, instead we follow a person around for like what, a solid 5 minutes. And it was just
Yeah.
like of like just them talking about stuff, and then we're just following somebody for a while, and then like when we get to where ever the hell they are, um you're seeing like a bunch of people being tortured and shit like that, and I'm like, where why couldn't we get this one? Like where was this? This would have been amazing. This would have honestly bumped the film up. I want to see people
Mhm.
get tortured. Like if we're going to torture people, I would rather it be on camera or off camera or like a Saw situation. Because that's where I thought it was going to start going, was into a more Saw situation, like toward the end of these people just like being like wrapped up in like barbed wire and shit like that. And I'm like, okay, maybe this is where it's going to get interesting. And it just, nope, it abandons it really fast. And then it just skips. Like that's another issue I had with it. It was like, it felt like more was happening, but they kind of just edited out to make time.
Mhm.
And it just like, because it was just like a lot of like, it just felt like there was a lot of like story that was just cut off. And I was like, okay. But I mean, there's really not much to go about this movie without like just telling you how it ends and how
Yeah.
everything goes.
Yeah. And we don't want to do that. We kind of tiptoed around like a lot of major points just to keep it spoiler
Yeah.
free. But yeah, that's gonna do it for A Very Flattened Christmas. It was again one of those just indifferent watches. Not good, not bad. You're just right there, right in the middle. So that's gonna do it for this week's Christmas Eve, Christmas Murderland marathon episode. We will be back to finish or close out our marathon next week with our final or double feature. me and Ian just has to discuss that off air. We might pull a double feature. Who knows? Because I still want that Krampus fix, so we might, since it's short. But Ian, as always, it's been great talking with you, my friend. Have
Likewise.
a happy Merry Christmas, and hopefully everything goes well. And the same for all those listening. Enjoy it, and we will see you next time here on Horror Night Oasis.
Good night and happy holidays, everyone.